I never thought in a million years that I'd be doing a review on a set of Simgot headphones, let alone for gaming in particular. So these headphones that Simgot has just rolled out is more for gaming than it is for anything else. But these are very capable audiophile headphones as well. Thank you to Simgot for making this review possible by sending me a whole bunch of these products to check them out and come out with this review, of course. It's been fun spending time with these and of course I will jump into how these are built before I do start rattling on. Now on a build front, these are definitely all very well put together. I do have the headphones with me, that's the EP5. I do have the gaming DAC amp, which is the GEW1, and I also do have the microphone that they have sent along with this. Now you can buy these products individually or just the headphones, or you can buy the other add-ons as well. When it comes to its unboxing experience, the headphones do come in a very smart looking box like Simgot normally rolls their IEMs out in, but the unboxing experience itself when you take the headphones out of the box does not feel as flamboyant as it does with the IEMs. So it did leave me a little bit wanting when it came to it. But when it comes to everything else you get in the box, you do get the headphones, of course, that are very nicely built. I'll get to that in a second. You do get a cable that does terminate to a 3.5 mm at the end where it connects to the DAC amp, and the other sides are TRS cables that do connect to the left and right sides of the headphones as well. Now they also have sent me the GEW1, which is a gaming DAC amp, which is pretty cool. It's specifically made for gaming and I will elaborate on that in a second. And they've also sent the mic, as I have mentioned. Moving on to the overall quality of the headphones, well, the overall build of this, I have to say, is pretty good for the price range it sits in. It does not look at all like it is an affordable or a budget set of headphones. This is definitely very premium looking. I'd say not very premium where you're talking about, you know, multiple hundreds of dollars worth, but it definitely is nicely done for the price it's in. It does have the Simgot branding on the little section that's holding the yoke together, and on the ear cups it does have salute to art and science, which is of course their motto. I do like the way the headphones also adjust. It's definitely a very comfortable way of operating it. It's definitely a very neatly designed set. Now this is a semi-open back set of headphones, so you can have some bleed out when you are listening to these, or if somebody next to you is listening to them, there is a slight bleed of sound, of course, which is something you can expect with semi-open. And then its ear pads are extremely comfortable. These are not memory foam, but they are very soft and comfortable on the ear. In fact, the opening for the ear is very comfortable for me. I've got maybe medium-sized ears which sit in this open area very comfortably. Maybe if you have larger ears, this might touch the upper and lower part of your ear, but I've had no discomfort issues at all. The clamping force as well is very comfortable. It's I'd say between a medium and a light sort of clamping force, so it's not too firm and it's not too loose. It sits very comfortably and you can forget about it. Now, because of the material used on these ear pads, these definitely don't breathe very well. So if you are using these in a very humid environment, expect this to cause some amount of heat or sweat around your ears. However, if you are using these in an office or at home with the AC on, these should be more than comfortable, of course. And then moving on to the GEW1, well, this is a very interesting little module because it has a whole bunch of buttons and features on it. You can of course plug in the 3.5 mm jack here. This is where the output section is. You do have a little switch on the side that is a microphone on and off option, so you can either have it or not, so you can mute it or have it on. The plus and minus buttons are for volume control, for up and down, for the volume for the microphone. Then you do have a mode button which toggles between a few different modes, which are FPS gaming audio, then you have MOBA gaming audio, and you have original audio as well. And when you press it again and there's no light on, that is the default audio tuning. And then of course you do have a 7.1 surround sound button which you can press here, which does change the tuning to a certain extent, and I will elaborate that on that in a little while. Then on the side you do have a volume control option, so you can pull the volume down and you can push it up as well from here, which is a very neat way to do it. This is kind of old school. I remember some older units like this used to do this. I'm talking about way back in the early 2000s, of course. And then moving on to the microphone, this also does come with a similar finish compared to the cable for the headphones. It is braided, and it does have the 3.5 auxiliary on one side and the TRS on the other, which will connect into the headphones. And of course it does have this microphone that comes out from the other side, and what's cool is it is adjustable. And another nice thing about this is that it does have a little pop filter that comes in the little pouch that it is sent to you in, so it's nice that they're keeping that in mind. The one thing maybe I have a gripe about when it comes to this entire setup is maybe the cable. Because of this braided cable, it is a fabric finish, so I found that when I'm using it for gaming, in fact there were times where I was sensing things from around me, but when I was turning my head I realized that when this material rubs against the collar of my shirt or somewhere along my shirt, it does send through some vibrations, which is a bit distracting. I did for a second think it was a sound that came from the game, but it wasn't. So it can be a bit distracting when it does rub against you. So moving on to the microphone, I haven't used this at all, to be very honest with you, because I don't play games at FPS and stuff like that. So I prefer racing games, so I've not really used it. So here's a quick demo to show you how the microphone will sound if you decide to use it for any sort of FPS gaming. So I'm talking to you guys right now through the microphone on my phone, of course. So this should give you a general idea as to how my phone will pick my voice up from this distance. I have plugged in the this cable into a DD Hi-Fi high-res DAC. Now this does have a microphone pass through. So this is how this sounds through this, and I'll plug it in about now. Hand it over. So this is the sound you're hearing through the DD Hi-Fi and this microphone, of course. So I'm sure it'll make be a lot clearer if it is closer to you. So of course, as in closer to your mouth. So right now it is closer to my mouth. So you guys can see what the difference is with the overall tonal quality. So right now what I'll do is I'll unplug this. So it should temporarily jump into the microphone on the phone, and I'll plug this into the GEW1, which is right here in front of me, and I'll plug this into the phone now. So it should do that. So now I'm plugged into this and I have the microphone on the on setting here, so it should be feeding through, and the microphone volume up and down here as well. So I mean, you're the best judge to see if there is a difference over here with the volume as well as with the overall quality. So this is basically what you can expect. Now I have increased the volume here, and when I press the up button furthermore, I'm hearing a slight beep through the headphones. So I do suppose that it's maxed out at max volume. So yeah, this is the overall sort of tonal quality you can expect through any vocals coming through this with the GEW1. So I hope that this quick demo has given you a better understanding for this microphone and how good or bad it sounds. But I do like that it's flexible. You can sort of move it, modulate its distance away from you further back, and you have this mute button, of course. So when I flip this way, yeah, you wouldn't have heard that because I had it on off. So it's nice that it's got that mute button for when you don't want your buddies to hear you. So anyway, I hope this has given you a better understanding, and I'll see you in the chapter about sound. These come with very large 50 mm dynamic drivers, have a frequency response of 15 Hz all the way up to 50,000 Hz, and have a very easy to drive low impedance of just 32 ohms. So you can plug this into other DAC amps as well, but I have found that when you plug it into more powerful portable DAC amps, it does open up that much more. So I wouldn't say it's really power hungry, but if you do give it something that's more powerful, it'll definitely be a lot more enjoyable to listen to. Volume wise, if you're using this headphone without the GEW1, I have plugged this into an RZ550 DAC amp that I really like. I found myself sitting at about maybe 35 to 45% volume, and it's fun to listen there. It sort of sounds, very leveled out. It's not really sort of anemic in any area. For that matter, I did try taking it lower down to 20% volume. I was expecting it to thin out considerably because it is a much larger driver. It shouldn't be able to drive the lower frequencies at lower volumes, but it surprisingly does. It is actually able to push out lower frequencies even at lower volumes. So even if you don't want to blast your audio, whether you're music listening or gaming, lower volumes, it works just fine. When it comes to its imaging, this is not the sharpest sounding set of headphones I've heard out there, but then again, for the price, it is very impressive with its overall detail recovery. So I've not found it to be, razor sharp with certain edges, but it does have a rounded aspect to it. So daggers aren't being hurled at your ears, thankfully. So it is much softer in its overall presentation, which in itself is a plus point, because I think if you are somebody who likes to play games for prolonged periods of time, over 2 hours, over 3 hours, over 4 hours, having a very sharp sounding set of headphones that are very detailed can get fatiguing over time. This doesn't do that, which is definitely a nice welcome. When it comes to staging, I found that it's a very nice, should I say, wide stage without the GEW1 by itself. So even if you plug it into a setup you have at home, be it a DAC amp or a desktop setup, its stage is good for a semi-open back. Some tones do appear to come a little out of the headphones. It does have this sphere around your head in presentation, and there are some tones that appear to be coming from a little out of the headphones, which is pretty impressive considering it doesn't have any sort of 7.1 mode on when you're listening to your own equipment. It is proper hardcore stereo. It does have good left and right separation with a dead center phantom channel, of course, but things do change up when you plug it into the GEW1, because that is when I think all the magic takes over with whatever processing they've put into this little DAC amp. This has a very good way of giving you different tunings. Like I did show you that it has different modes for different things you're doing. There is a significant shift. Like I've heard some earphones that you have different modes, but there's not very much that happens. So when you shift over to different modes, you can definitely tell on an audio front that there is a shift, and it also has that little LED light that changes colors to let you know what mode you're in. And of course, that 7.1 surround audio is also quite impressive, because I have tried it while playing Ride 5 and Forza as well. And I like having it on usually when I'm in some sort of a race. When I'm doing free roam in Forza, I don't switch it on. I do prefer stereo sound, especially for music. But when I'm playing video games, I like to put it on that 7.1 mode, because whenever there are cars that whiz past, or even bikes that whiz past in Ride 5, there's this sort of sense that things are coming from a little behind you and just whooshing past. And for that matter, the placement of, where you shift the camera, it does it very well. For that matter, in game, whenever you're playing a game, the separation between the crowds you're passing or the motorbikes you're passing is very well defined. It gives you a very good sense of spatial awareness. Now the thing is, it is definitely not as good as having a 7.1 or a 5.1 surround system, but for a stereo set of headphones at this price range, I think it does a very good job. Moving on to its highs, mids and lows, it's not pushed beyond a limit where it starts tearing your ears off. Simgot, I found, has usually been very particular about this range, except for maybe 1 or 2 IMs that I've heard from them. But they've done a good job over here for sure. The highs are sparkly, they are crisp, they are well detailed. It's not fatiguing in this range. It's definitely very well detailed, especially if you're listening to let's say even high-res audio when it comes to classical and all that sort of stuff. It does do a very good job of reproducing those tones and sounds very well. Where it does go slightly off, I'd say, on a musical front is the upper mid-range. The upper mid-range is deliberately, I think, tweaked so that you can hear footsteps moving closer to you for FPS gaming, or where you can hear, a little bit better vocal clarity with your gaming buddies while you're playing FPS games. There's definitely a tweak over there to ensure that you can hear certain sounds approaching you, someone stepping on leaves coming close to you, that kind of stuff. Musicality wise, it's not something that a lot of people will appreciate, because it tends to be sibilant, more so with a lot of tracks that aren't recorded well. If a track is recorded well, it's not as prominent, but this is tuned more, I'd say, for gaming than it is for music in this range. It does have recessed lower mids, so a lot of male vocals do thin out, female vocals do thin out. Yeah, so again, musicality wise, I mean, it's fine for instruments. Classical music, I'd say it's terrific. It's great for instrumental stuff. The minute you start wanting to say, I want to listen to such and such artist because he's got a nice full sounding mid-range with lower mids, accentuated mid-mids, this isn't as full bodied over there, of course, because it's catering to something else. Lower frequency wise, it's definitely not the most prominent in the sub-lows and the upper low region. There is a mid bass extension for certain. The sub low extension does exist, it is very much there, and so is the upper low frequencies, but it's not as prominent as the mid bass for sure. Perfect for gaming again. If you're doing FPS stuff, if there are explosions, if there's a car whizzing past with a very deep sounding motor, it's very interesting sounding. It definitely is a lot of fun to listen to. For that matter, even with music, I've thrown some EDM at this with really unnatural sub-low frequencies. This does very well. It's got terrific extension on the lower region. It doesn't taper off like some headphones do to ensure there's more detail in the mids. No, it's definitely a very prominent sub-low region, and this ensures a lot of fun while listening to music as well. So yes, I have enjoyed listening to a lot of music on this for certain. I didn't think I'd be enjoying electronic dance music on this. I'm not an electronic dance music enthusiast, but it was fun to listen to it on this set of headphones. So that's it for the sound. But one thing I do want to mention, when it comes to gaming in particular, I have been using my Steam Deck to play on this. Now these guys at Simgot have made this to work better with, in fact I saw it somewhere here, let me just confirm. Yeah, it works with PC, Mac, iOS and Android, PS4, PS5 and Switch. driver-free operation, which is terrific. You can just plug in and play. And what's really cool is the cable for the headphone and the cable for the GEW1 are very long. So even if you're plugging it into your PS4 or 5 that's near your TV, you're going to be able to sit on your sofa and play, which is great. But I have been plugging this into my Steam Deck for reasons that well, I can't always plug into my TV because I've got my wife and daughter usually consuming media when I want to game sometimes. So this makes a lot of sense to me. One thing I did find weird is when I'm plugged into the Steam Deck, when the volume is at any volume level up to 95%, there is no audio feeding the GEW1. When I hit it up to 100%, then audio feeds into the GEW1, which is pretty weird. Whereas when I plug into my Android phone, you can control it like the initial amp that is feeding. It's like your phone is like a preamp, because you can feed it about 80 to 90% worth of volume and then boost from the GEW1. This is a terrific way to ensure you don't get distortion. Just don't boost over 80-90%. If you're doing 100%, you might get some clipping. So that's pretty cool. But that's the only weird thing I found with the Steam Deck, because the minute the Steam Deck went up to 100% only, then does the audio come in. But at the same time, once that happens, it's fine. You can control from the GEW1 and it's a lot of fun. It works with the Steam Deck. In fact, I did think it wouldn't because it's not mentioned over here. So it's pretty cool that it does in fact work with this gaming console as well. So to sum up, it's really amazing that Simgot has come out with something like this. Like, I never thought that they'd come out with headphones, and that too even gaming headphones, because they were always the audiophile kind of headphone that you wanted to go for. So in fact, there's one thing I did want to mention about the audiophile aspect of it. One thing I did find that is that despite these being at the price that they are terrifically transparent, in the sense I didn't find myself enjoying my music as much with Apple Music with these. I usually do a lot of my testing with a whole bunch of DACs, a whole bunch of IEMs and so on with Apple Music. But there are very few headphones that usually make a calling and saying a call for higher res stuff, basically offline FLAC files that I have stored, because those are really properly high bitrate. So I had to take out my portable audio player that had the FLAC files, and this is definitely a lot happier with higher res stuff. So I found myself not using Apple Music for my music listening. So you can even use these as proper audiophile grade headphones at a beginner level. They're definitely not, I wouldn't compare them to things in the 14, 15, 20, 30,000 price range. They're great for what they are at the price that they come in, headphones alone. So I was just sitting down to copy the footage and I realized that I forgot to mention one important thing. I don't know when I'm going to throw this into this clip, but I remember I said something about FLAC files, listen to FLAC files instead of Apple Music. And one thing I did realize when listening to FLAC files is that I was listening to Mozart's Lacrimosa. Now, this is a very, very dynamic track. It's a Requiem. And the minute you get onto FLAC files or FLAC audio, you start listening to audio that is that much more dynamic, because it's not as flat as streaming stuff. And one thing I did notice with this when I was listening to this on my portable music player and portable amp as well, was that every time the music got really soft, these headphones sounded beautiful, but when it started getting a bit louder, I had to keep dialing the volume knob down. And this is usually a telltale sign of a set of headphones or earphones or speakers for that matter that don't do dynamics very well, because if you hold it at a volume and it's easy on the ears right through during the highs and the lows, it does dynamics very well. And this, I'd say, is all right, because you have to find a nice balance, but it was a little too forward in certain places when it came to its overall dynamic response. So this is definitely something I'm sure Simgot will try and work on. This is after all their very first set of headphones. So considering it's doing as well as it does for dynamics, I'd say it's pretty good. Anyway, back to the rest of the video. But anyway, this whole kit is pretty good, I'd say, for gaming. If you are somebody who already owns Simgot and you trust them and they've got it right, this has pretty much been my review on the EP5, the GEW1, and that little additional microphone, of course. Terrific for gaming, of course. So anyway, moving right on, if you do want to buy these, you can buy these online, and I'll leave the links down below, of course. So you can get the headphones alone, and wow, Linsol is showing it to me in rupees, but will leave the dollar cost here as well. So the headphones alone can set you back 7,408 rupees. If you get the headphones and mic alone, it will be 7,925. And if you get the EP5, the microphone and the GEW1 together, that will set you back about 9,390 rupees. So I'd say it's a pretty good deal, no matter what setup you're going for. If you're going for just the headphones, or even if you want the gaming setup, the GEW1 does benefit this for the different experiences. And it's cool that you've got a separate amping unit with the volume. So like I said, when you plug it into your phone will work as a preamp. So it's a cool way to avoid distortion, in other words. Whereas when you plug it in directly to a lot of other products, you're just getting full 100% of volume, like what happened with the Steam Deck, of course. But yeah, I mean, there you have it. That's my quick review on, well, quick. I'm saying while I must be sitting at the 15-minute or so mark, but I do hope that this review has given you a better understanding for Simgot's latest EP5 and the gaming stuff. And I do hope that I've helped you make some sort of purchase decision. If you would like to support the channel, I'm sure you know exactly how to. But of course, thank you for tuning in for some sound advice.